pass through the veil. It's shut off by mist or whiteness or a dimensional realm. So all of that dragon energy is very, very close to the surface. This is why the Celtic dragons are so heavy in lore. I would say it also is true in the Asian continent, the body of China and most of that eastern seaboard down through Thailand and all the way up into Korea and Japan, that those Asian dragons also have a lot of energy still in the land that was very active. But I would say the Celtic kept it the strongest, that really honed in and was able to keep it alive. And I think it's because so many stayed, and I'm just realizing this now, that so many stayed in body in that Avalonian frequency bandwidth that is so close to us, and so they're easier to connect to. As far as like breaking it into family dynamic of wyverns or body shapes or different things, I don't work with that part of it. I work just with the energy. So what I was sitting with earlier is when I get up and I dress for the day or I tune in energetically, there was something calling me. It was like, I don't wear red often. Like, whoa, go for the red. Okay, that feels like summer party, which is great because we're doing a summer party today. We got a birthday party out by the pool. But it was about this tint, this bringing in my awareness. And so then what I wanted to be born with it was this rose gold, and it's the only piece I have that's rose gold. This little flower that is originally from Hawaii, and found the rose gold chain. And for me, the rose gold is a connection to Arcturus. That when I connected with the Arcturian dragons, they were rose gold frequency bandwidth. They were bringing that in. And so I said, all right, so you've put me in this frequency. What and how and why is that connected to the discussion that's going on today about the Celtic dragons? And I realized, or what was being shown to me, was that because of that Celtic connection through into the Avalonian bandwidth of where that sort of like a part of Middle Earth still exists and is present energetically, where the dragons still walk the land energetically, that high frequency bandwidth from the Arcturian system that has not been able to come necessarily directly into our field the way we normally get energies, it's almost like the Arcturian system is able to connect and is working with that Avalonian like a back door into the earth, or like a back door to hold that frequency bandwidth and allow those energies and that information to come through. And it's always tied to the King Arthur legend and the pieces, the priestesses of Avalon and the dragons and Merlin, and that there's a tie-in here that I hadn't necessarily seen before between, and who's the dragon that works with Merlin. Now they're laughing at me. I love when the dragons start laughing at me. They're like, do you see the tie-in with the red dress? Who works with Merlin? The ruby dragon. So we have the ruby dragon, and the sapphire dragon, interestingly, was on my wall. Wow, this is all tying in and I hadn't realized it. The sapphire dragon works with Arthur. That's that community group element. So here we have the energies with Sapphire already in the sphere. It was energy we were working with yesterday with my dragon hearts. Felt really strongly to keep it there, and now realizing that the rose gold, the Arcturian, the connection with the Celtic dragons, bringing in Avalon, bringing in Merlin, the ruby dragon, there's the red dress, and now it's all making sense to me. So this is where, when we want to connect with the Celtic in particular, so if you have that heritage, if you're trying to remember those lifetimes, if you have a connection to priestesses of Avalon or Merlin or any of the Arthurian, any of the knights, any of those legends and tales, any of that land, I know when I was there, it just woke things up within me. You walk the land, and I literally had song bursting out of me in light language that was a continuous sort of repeating chorus while I was walking around the wells at the Chalice Well. So definitely heavily influenced by all that energy, and feeling even that Chalice Well as that connection through to that Avalonian energy, and feeling the dragons speak to me so strongly there. That they are the ones to help us break into the codes of that higher dimensional plane and pulling back through to the pieces of ourselves that are in that particular dimensional realm. So when we connect to our memory banks and we go out, yeah, and the Ruby Dragon is laughing in the card pick. Absolutely. I'm just going to find, where do I have her? I can't see her right now, but yes, she is sort of laughing, isn't she? The dragons laugh at me a lot, actually, Marcy. And you are the one that will always find the humor, and I love that. So, this connection in that I don't think I would have even realized before, that when we are coming into who we be, and we're stepping fully into ourselves, our dragon self, that as we do that, both internally and externally, and this is where the dragon within meets the dragon without, and they come together, we start getting pieces in both directions. And we can get pieces through our memory banks and going into our dragon, but we can also start that connection through physical spaces. So I was actually drawn to walk the land in Ireland and Scotland. I spent 6 weeks traveling all over by foot through both countries and both regions. And I now haven't gotten to Wales yet, but I do feel called to get back there. And I know that was a deep just embedding. There was actually soul retrieval pieces that happened during the trip that it was very unexpected. And I felt home on that land, and I had an experience with the Hill of Tara north of Dublin and the Fairy King and all of the fairies. They actually taught me a song on my 10 whistles and went through a deep ceremony process with them and experienced knowing and pieces of myself that were embedded in that land, that were part of having lived there. And it was like, that's how we reconnect, right? That's how we get that back and have that memory come in, because as we come into who we be, we are actually connecting to all aspects of ourselves more consciously. So even Jackie having asked this question about the Celtic Dragons, I feel is leading into that discovery and why I felt to share it on a live, because there's going to be many of you that are touched by that or have had that pull to any of those regions in what is, I consider, like the Celtic region or bandwidth of knowing you have heritage there, knowing you have bloodlines there, knowing you've walked that land in another century, that incarnational aspect of you is still there and present for you to connect to. And that energy, I'm only realizing today, is because through those mists into that, what's not quite a full Middle Earth. It's interesting because I feel like Avalon's sort of between Middle Earth and the surface of the Earth, that it has doorways to both, and that when you can access those, that's an access point for like a backdoor up to Arcturian energies that we've been waiting to be able to receive. But all of those dragons that are still in form embody in a slightly higher vibration than here on Earth in 3D elemental, where they've had to sink in and really slow their vibration down because they're being hunted, right? That they were always on the defensive, so they just said, all right, we'll keep our vibration here. It will unlock when you're ready, and this is why we find them in the mountains and the lakes and the trees and the logs, and especially in the deep mountain bedrock where they are embedded and they become the mountains. And I'm seeing now, I'm getting these great visuals of what's happening in that whole Avalonian landscape is still very present with the dragons. And that energy is, it's like, it's almost like a doorway that they've been using, and I know that they used it to connect through me to bring the book out. That was really, really a important piece, and why I had to be in that land to bring through the first level of information. But I can see them roaming the lands. I can see that landscape, and they're still very, very present in a slightly higher vibrational body format. So as we come towards this gateway, towards the new Earth, and that higher bandwidth where that exists within it, I feel like we are connecting. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Andaras and the underground cities of light, or the Middle Earth and Deep Earth cities of light, like Telos under Shasta. That those are all interconnecting, and that those cities of light would be able to connect to that Avalonian landscape and the Atlantean landscape and the Lemurian, and that once we're at that place where we actually allow ourselves to open fully into that integration, they'll all be present and accessible. They might not be all in the same overlay, but all the gateways and portals will be open. So that little bit on the Celtic Dragons is hopefully some insight or some, I feel like there's little neurons or something. It's interesting because I feel like it's around the wings. It's on the back of the upper shoulders, like pop, 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 as if there's like something being pried off or something that's been a limitation in accessing those energies for all of us that's now being just sort of pried off with that awareness. And a lot of times, that's why I love your questions. That awareness level is what takes us into new comprehension, new information shared that links pieces together, and you go, oh, no wonder. Because I hadn't ever asked myself the question, or I hadn't had it come to me, well, who are the Celtic Dragons? What about that? I've just always worked with the energies, and so that question alone has brought us into, wow, there's this connection with Avalon. There's a backdoor connection from Avalon to Arcturus, and that all of those dragons in the Avalonian template, much like the Atlantean and the Lemurian, are of course still embodied, but they are closer to us than even the Middle Earth dragons. So that's a great maybe leaping off point for those of you that feel those connections, to dive into the energies of Avalon and the energies of, I would say in particular, Wales, because it seems to be like the center point of the heartland of what I consider the Celtic region. And so isn't that funny that that's the one place I haven't gone, and I'm being reminded that their banner, their flag, is a dragon. But I think that is one country that's still, like, I'm visualizing, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Welsh flag is clearly a dragon, much like the Pendragon, Arthur Pendragon. King Arthur was the Pendragon. He was the king dragon. And I do feel like he walked with a dragon, just like Merlin walks with a dragon. So that being the Sapphire, what more is there for us to unfold there? What more is there for us to remember there? I feel like there's new bits saying, all right, let's take this a step further. What else do you know and remember about it? And as we open that, and I can always feel it in my field when Tana is here and there's this transference happening where it's like doorways being open. It's very interesting because we had something yesterday with my dragon hearts where this Lapis and the Sapphire were bridging. Wow, this is really making sense now. They were bridging, so the Lapis is deep earth, Sapphire is middle earth, and they were bridging into this pure blue, like a flat lapis without any white or black or gold in it. And I was in blue yesterday. I was in this flat blue, and the work we were doing with that was about going through these long hallways and opening these vault doors. And I feel like there's a connection with this for you guys, for the larger extended dragon family now, because of this information, that there's doors being pried open that are about that connection into those higher etheric realms, that as we are preparing our body to go even from crystal to diamond, some of us, some are still working towards crystal, and it's fine wherever you are, that all of this is spherical, so there's pieces happening simultaneously, and allowing that, all right, just feel the openings. Because when I sit and I tune into my body right now and all of my energy bodies, I can actually feel like these gateways or portals or doorways, almost like dikes in dams in a dike, like popping open, and it's a connection point that is opening access to these higher vibrational realms that are very, very close to the earth plane. So when we say higher vibrational realms, a lot of times we're working with the Orion dragons or the Pleiadian dragons, up 5, 6, 9D, whatever they are. And this is about full body, physical body connection starting to open to what's the next vibrational sequence right close to us. Between Middle Earth and here, it's apparently the Avalonian. So in working with and calling in that Celtic dragon piece, and you don't have to know what they are. I feel Wyvern keeps coming in, but I know there's other body shapes that are in books out there. You can look those up, but you don't have to, because it's about the energy of it. So just open and say, all right, I want all the Celtic dragons to show me who they are. And I would say that a lead into that knowing that the sapphire, ruby, and emerald are Middle Earth. They work with those higher vibrational beings that are in that. So Merlin and Arthur, and they're not going to show me I'm not supposed to talk about Jezebel's connection, the Emerald Dragon. So knowing, all right, all that peace, they're holding that next vibrational step for your body framework. Because where are we at right now? This is, I guess I'll circle back around to 7-7. Last week was the 7-7. My Dragon Hearts had a big mission that I won't go into detail on what it was about, but it was what feels afterwards like it was a completion point of a geometric and reconfiguring something that was out of balance and out of alignment and missing pieces for a long time. That's about the entire Earth plane and Gaia's body. So with that coming into balance, what I have started feeling since then, starting that night and all the way through since Friday and even now, this stilling, this coming into balance. It's the preparation for us to move into a full state of union within our body. So that happening, and even seeing, I don't know where you guys are with your weather patterns, because everything manifests down in the physical. Where I am, we literally have had one of the windiest, 3-4 weeks that I've experienced living in Reno. As of Friday, we've had no breeze. We've had no wind, like very, very subtle, if anything. And so we're in a 100-degree week with stillness. It's a pattern that it's settled in, all right, it's here. And it's amazing for me to feel that calmness in myself, and it's manifesting externally in the weather. And going into this, all right, here's the stillness coming in. It's giving us the opportunity to feel and align to what Gaia's energy body has been literally gifted with reattuning and realigning some big pieces for her, and that everything mirrors down to us. So that means our own alignment now is coming into that same place, which as we step into that state of union and balance, whoa, we're ready for the next level of codes for the physical body to shift into its full carbon to silica shift biologically, and just allowing that. Just feel it in your body. You may say, well, I don't feel stuff. I'm not intuitive like you. I'm not psychic. I don't get that. You don't have to sit and feel tingling or heat or cold or shiver or an electrical impulse or just something saying, yes. You don't need to have the rest of it, but yes, this is happening in your body. And just feeling and allowing and inviting that to continue opening. And now that we know about these Celtic Dragon connections, maybe you have a connection to Merlin. Call them in. Call in the Ruby. Call in the Sapphire. Call in the Emerald. But there's also other Celtic Dragons that I think are going to show up for you if you just say, you know what? Can you send a band of Celtic Dragons? Can you send a couple Celtic Dragons my way? I want to start breathing with them. And they're saying, start with the Earth. So those of you that are new, and we have a lot of new people in the group. I did an interview, really fun. I'm trying to get it downloaded and posted. I've been trying for 2 days now to get the full file, and it hasn't wanted to come through yet. So as soon as I do, I'll post it, because I interviewed with a woman. We just talked dragons for an hour and a half. Her name is Julia Velez. She's a galactic astrologer, and so a whole new realm of dragon family coming in that are bringing that astrology piece that I don't carry, but it's like, all right, that knowledge will be in the sphere, and bringing that forward. It was a really great discussion. It was a lot of fun. And there are a lot, and she's in Ireland, so I feel like that's an alignment too this week of, boom, Thursday, here's this big activation. Boom, Friday, here's this interview that got reset a couple of times and ended up on Friday after this perfect alignment, and now it's aligned with talking about Celtic Dragons, and she's based in Ireland, so I feel like there's a big tie starting to be made here and some energy unfolding for us that will keep presenting more and more and more. So just open and allow, because it's tied to, they're saying it's tied to magic. It's tied to that magic with a K, reawakening that within yourself, because it will take magic principles, alchemical principles, to shift the body in its elemental state from the carbon to the silical. And I know that I had information in the last year and a half of how the elemental shift moves from like an elemental bonding to what was called in my sessions an etheric bonding. So having that shift taking place, there's obviously some magic principles that the Celtic Dragons carry, that Avalonian energies carry, that are heritage there on whatever level. And I guarantee if you're a dragon family, you've had at least one lifetime in those lands. So just open to it, let the memory come in and feel that magic embedding. And that's what they're saying, that the doorways you're feeling pop open is almost like the links to the alchemical process, to the ability to have that magic come in, have that shape-shifting capacity be remembered. Because our body, and I hadn't even put this together before, our body moving from carbon to silica to be able to embody its light body is actually going through an alchemical process that is a form of shape-shifting. Wow, that's very interesting to me. And the dragons are leading the way because they are masters of it. They anchor and hold those codes. So allowing whatever's taking place, whatever, you can feel it coming through. I mean, Tana's working and she's like direct in contact with this whole band of Avalonian energy. Just like feeling that. It has to do with magic, it has to do with alchemy, and it has to do with shape-shifting. So when those popping on the back of your top of your wings, back of the shoulders here, when you feel that, or just feel it like opening through your heart space or your energy bodies, and I love that. I love all the hearts coming. Thank you guys. I'm assuming that's because you're feeling it in your body, because Tana's like sending it. She's holding the space right now. And even if you're catching this on the replay, we don't operate in the time continuum. We operate outside of it. So it doesn't matter if you catch this a year from now. You're getting that because you're ready for it now. All right. So, feeling the beauty of that. Really excited to have all of that connection and information click some puzzle pieces together for me. I hope it did for you. And Jackie, thanks so much for the question. I will always take more questions because this is how we all learn and grow, and it's helpful to everybody. So I think depending what questions come in this week, especially from all our newbies, I have a gal that on my YouTube put a comment in asking to talk about the Orion Dragons a bit. So we may talk about that next week and see why it's tied in a follow-up from this. So have a great week, everybody. I will see you next Tuesday, and just soak up and enjoy this. Sit with this energy, stay with it for a while, and let it just keep popping those little doorways open in your field. I can still feel it. It's almost like feeling, if you have popcorn made of light or like tiny, tiny fireworks, like popcorn going off in your body, that's what my body feels like right now. It's pretty cool. All right. Have a great one, everybody. If you need assistance, reach out on my calendar. I actually have had a plethora of session work get booked up over the next couple of weeks with after that interview and all these new dragons in our family. So if you don't see something right away and you're wanting a discovery call or a session, just keep looking every few days because the calendar only goes about 3 weeks out. All right, we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.